Welcome to What's the Score, a series solely dedicated to the support of Central Florida's small business and entrepreneurs. Donated as a community service by AM 660 The Answer and Salem Communications. Now, here's Christopher Hart and Rich Jaeckle.
Welcome once again to What's the Score? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us again today. Hi, I'm Christopher Hart of the American Adversaries Radio Show, and I'm joined once again in the studio today by Rich Jaeckle of Score. Rich, how you doing today?
Just right, Chris. Just right.
All right, and we also have Paul McNally in studio with us as well. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing just great. It's great to be back again.
All right, and don't forget, folks, if you've never heard What's the Score before, it is the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. That's right, folks. This is a unique show, the only one of its type in Central Florida, maybe anywhere. It's brand new, and we appreciate all the responses that we're getting from you. We love it, and hope you like today's show as well. We'll be talking about a little bit about what Score is and what it's all about, but we're also going to be talking about events and guests on our show coming up, and also today we'll talk about some of the poor budgeting decisions that are made in people's initial businesses. But first, I want to go to Rich, because, Rich, you're not going to be here next week.
That's right. I am taking the day off and leaving you two to your own devices.
That'll be a special treat for everyone, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. For you guys especially.
Chris, I think our ratings will probably be going up next week.
By the way, folks, if you've never heard of Score, Rich, give them the elevator speech.
Okay. Well, Score is a voluntary organization, national, comprised of executives, retired executives, all volunteer to help create the healthy Central Florida business community. There are 400 offices roughly across the U.S. and about 10,000 volunteers. And I stress volunteers. We don't get paid anything. And we are scheduled to come in, and the service we offer is free counseling for those who qualify. And again, I stress the word free.
And folks, the nice thing about what we have available here in Central Florida is the Entrepreneurial Center, which is in the Fashion Square Mall between Penny's and Sears, and Score has an office within the Entrepreneurial Center. So you can go in there between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday, and meet face-to-face with Rich or someone from Score. And these mentors are there to help you, and they are looking forward to help you. If you'd like to make an appointment at that office, call them over there at 407-420-4844. That's 407-420-4844. And if you want to find out more about Score, you can go online and do that at orlando.score.org, orlando.score.org. And as Rich said, the best thing about this is that these ladies and gentlemen are there and willing to help you for free, give you excellent advice, advice that business executives pay a lot of money for in a corporate structure.
That's right. And plus, they're experienced. They're not reading their experience out of a book. This is really life experience that these guys bring to the table. And there's 60 of them, roughly, in Orlando, Florida. And I'll bet each one has a different set of skills and experience. So when you, as a client, call in and have a particular business that you want to start or you want to help, like restaurant or construction, we can find a counselor that fits that expertise to assign you to.
Someone who's had experience, and not only experience, but success in that industry, that business. And that's where you come in, Paul, because your expertise is in restaurants.
My background was in restaurants. I've owned 4 of them over my career, and was in the distribution business also, and have since retired from that business. But that's where I do a lot of the counseling and Score is for the people that are in the looking to get in the food business.
Let me ask you guys a question about Score. Do most of your clients come to you before they start the business or after they start a business?
I'd say it's probably about 60-40. 60% before, that are sheer entrepreneurs and have an idea and want to know how to execute it. And about 40% are existing or emerging businesses.
but you're there available for both.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter how long your business has been around. You can still go down the score and talk to these fellas if you have a particular problem or you feel that you could be doing better than you are doing. You just don't understand why you're not. These guys can help you diagnose it because they are objective and they are going to be brutally honest.
That's true. I mean, if you come in expecting us to just pat your back and give you support, yes, we will do that. But if you come in and you're going down a totally wrong path, we will also tell you that.
And it's for your own good. I mean, the whole point here, folks, and this is what I love about SCORE, is they want to help you succeed. And they're going to tell you the things that you need to hear to help you succeed. Some of it will be, yes, this is great what you're already doing. But over here, you got a little weakness, or if you did this, if you tweak this a little bit, or if you stop doing that altogether and do this instead, you will go a lot farther. And when people come to you, are they receptive to this?
Yeah, most of them are, especially the ones that know if they want to get to the next level of business. Let's say they're at 4 or 5 million now, and they want to jump up to 50 million over a period of years. How do they get there? Most of the times, it's the owner who is not equipped to make that next step because the owner has to change things the way they've done it for all these years to accommodate for the growth and projections for the new business because it will emerge.
And there is, Paul, a reluctance, I would think. If a man or a woman has been successful in their mind and can show it in the books for a while doing a certain thing a certain way, they would be reluctant, you would think, to change.
Definitely. And a lot of times they'll come in trying to reconfirm what they've already done or what they're already planning on doing. And sometimes we do get some reluctance where they are looking for just a pat on the back or they're looking for somebody else to do it for them. And that's not what we're there to do. We'll advise them. But we're not going to do the work for them. We will give them the advice and send them in the right direction, but they need to do the work themselves.
And that's only appropriate because in the end, then they can really enjoy the success.
That's right, and the money.
Absolutely, and be proud of it. Now, we have had some guests on the show. We don't have one today, but we're going to have some in the near future. And, Paul, you got a little rundown of some of the guests that we're going to have.
I do. Next week, we will have somebody from Golf Magazine, Terry, who I believe she is the editor.
She started the magazine.
She started the magazine.
Publisher,
the original publisher.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she'll be with us next week.
And she, by the way, was a client of yours, Rich.
Yes, yes, she was. Actually, she had some proprietary stuff that she wanted to put into play. So we helped her with patents and trademarks.
That's something else we'll be talking about in the future, too. And SCORE can help out with that. And that's, of course, a big thing with people who have inventions or gadgets. I'm sorry, Paul, go ahead.
That's all right. And then the following week, 2 weeks out, we've got Dr. Jack, who we'll be talking about patents and inventions. He has invented some things in the medical industry, and we'll be talking about that and how he got copyrighted. And that was, again, somebody that Rich had met.
And he's from right here in Central Florida.
Yes, he is. I met him at a bar, of course. No, I don't think he even drinks.
Was that before the invention or while he was inventing?
Actually, during.
But it's a fascinating invention that allows people who are paralyzed to communicate via a computer.
That's right. It's for the handicapped, and he had one heck of a time getting through all the patents, all the experiments, all the
regulations.
Yes, yeah. He is now working, to my knowledge, with the Handicap Chamber of Commerce, which is also located at Fashion Square Mall in the Entrepreneur Center.
Oh, fascinating. Paul, who else is coming in?
And then the following week, we're going to be talking about food trucks versus restaurants. And we've got Gary Malini that has a restaurant right here in Longwood.
Does he have a food truck?
He has a food truck, food trailer at the Wekiva Island.
Oh, he does?
Yep.
Oh, excellent. I was saying he could just bring the food truck on over here.
Hopefully he'll bring some samples.
Go downstairs and record the show down there at the food truck. Yeah.
That's right.
We'll have to do it on a Wednesday so we have beef on wick.
Well, that's fascinating because there was a time, other than the ice cream man, you didn't have food trucks. And now they're kind of ubiquitous. You see them sort of all over the place.
Some of them are doing a great job and doing a great business.
Is it something that... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Paul and I disagree on this thing because my recommendation is if you want to start a restaurant, before you go brick and mortar, buying a location, try a food truck. But Paul thinks that these things are iffy or some sort.
Well, it's a lot harder business than a lot of people think, because you're doing all of the steps of the restaurant, but you're only open for that small period of time, and you've got limitations on what you've got for inventory and what you can do with it. It's a great business model as a food truck, but for a stepping stone, it's not really a stepping stone. It's a way to get into the food business at a low cost.
Well, wouldn't it be like a market test to see if their food is acceptable? Or like it was my wife's cooking.
I think it's more.
You better watch out.
We won't go there.
You'll be walking in here next week 5 pounds lighter.
Yeah. I think where it's been more successful is restaurants that have added food trucks afterwards to go out and do some marketing and help promote the restaurant and extend that same item, the fare that they're offering in the restaurant, out on location.
Sort of. Disney has them now.
Disney has put them into downtown Disney, yeah.
So that must be a sign that they're pretty good investment.
Oh, it's definitely working out. I'm not saying it's a bad investment, but Gary, I think, will make it clear on the good versus the bad. He's owned both.
Okay.
That's right.
All right, how about upcoming events over at the Entrepreneurial Center?
Well, one of the big things that we've got where we suggest that people start off when they're thinking about getting into business is a seminar called You, Your Business Idea, and How SCORE Can Help.
It's a free seminar, isn't it?
Yep, it's a free seminar, and we've got coming up on September 6th.
Now, do people need to make a reservation?
Nope, they can just show up for this one. And
what time will that be?
And 9:30 to 12:30 on that Saturday, September 6th. And then the following Tuesday, September 9th, the same seminar again, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Entrepreneurial Center.
And they have nice big conference rooms there, folks, that are, it's the state-of-the-art stuff, and you will be well accommodated. So come on out for that and take advantage of it. Okay, we have to go to the first break. When we come back, we're going to talk in our Keys to Success segment today about poor budgeting. And because I think that's something that a lot of businesses do, whether they know it or not. I know I've been guilty of it. But please stick around for that. And once again, if you would like to send us questions or comments about the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just send them to score@nationalec.org. That's score@nationalec.org. So please don't go away. Rich, Paul, and I will be right back. Okay, welcome back to What's the Score, folks. That's right, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. I'm Christopher Hart, in studio along with Rich Jaeckle and Paul McNally. And folks, this is a show about and for businesses, what makes them succeed and what makes them fail. And more importantly, where you can find help to avoid those pitfalls and take advantage of tools you may not even know exist. This is a show that is being brought to you as a public service announcement by Salem Communications, and we certainly thank them for that and hope you will take advantage of what we have to offer. In the second segment of our show today, we go to our keys to success and talking about things that, can make you fail and not, having tools that you don't even know that are out there in the way of SCORE, for instance, to help you succeed. That's kind of what we try to focus on in this segment of the show. And today we're going to talk about poor budgeting. Now, I know we've talked about budgeting before, but in the sense of most businesses, budgeting is just not, how should I say this? Budgeting and Americans just kind of don't seem to go together. It seems for most Americans, it's a foreign concept. Am I wrong about that?
Well, you are. And I disagree that poor budgeting is one of the big problems. The big problem is no budgeting.
Okay, well, I guess that's what I meant. And by saying poor budgeting, in essence, what I guess I am saying is no budgeting, because at least if you make an attempt at it, you're moving in the right direction. But most Americans it's in their home finances and in their businesses' finances. They don't budget at all. I know I'm guilty. I can raise my hand when they say who doesn't budget and who, I'm right there.
I know my wife's guilty.
Not only of that, but marrying you too, right?
That's right.
My wife uses a theory: if she's got checks in the checkbook, there must be money behind
them. There you go.
Well, yeah, most people's idea of budgeting is how much money do I have to spend, right? And it is serious in business because you can really quickly set yourself up to fail, can't you, Paul?
You can, and if you're not watching and controlling your expenses, then eventually you'll run out of money. And the key is knowing what number you're going to control it to. So that's where the budgeting comes in important, so that you know how much you can spend in that particular area.
And, one of the dangers that I see, and I know I've tried to keep myself aware of this to not be guilty of it, are the little expenses. I think it was Ben Franklin who said that it's the little expenses that'll kill you, because you think, well, it's just a little expense, so I can do it. And then the next day you got another one, and you're constantly doing these little things that in the end, maybe you don't need to do all those little things. And it takes away the money for the big things.
And, it also takes money away from your personal account, because if you get in trouble a little bit with your business, you get in the habit of, well, I'll just take this out of my checking account and put it in the business.
Right.
You can't do that. I mean, this is your personal account, and there is a separate business account, and you'll never know how strong your business is if you keep funneling monies into your business from your personal account.
And now, once again, that's tough for a lot of people because they're operating on the edge, and the one becomes the other. The one account, if they even have two, they become one, so to speak.
That's right.
And you really are, that's the beginning of, you're heading down the wrong road, I think.
Absolutely. Plus, it's a nightmare to do your taxes. Let's see. How much money did I funnel into that checking account, the business checking account from my personal account? Because it's all tax deductible.
Sure.
Your personal account is not. So if you want, funnel all your money into the business and then spend your bills out of there.
All right. Once again, folks, you can get great advice on your budgeting and techniques. And because a lot of people are sole proprietors, or they file a corporation as an LLC, or even as an S corp,
yeah.
But it's basically a sole proprietor. It is a tax advantage for you to do as much operating out of the business as possible.
That's correct. Yes. And, typically the small business will lose money for about the first 6 months to a year. Isn't that right, Paul?
Yeah, typically it'll be 6 months to a year. Yep.
So obviously that has to be part of your budgeting.
Well, and that would be part of your business plan on knowing when those numbers are going to change over. One of the things on budgeting, and we're talking more now of an ongoing business, but not necessarily the startup, but you've got some items that you don't have any control over. You don't have any control over your rent. You don't have any control over, if you're a restaurant, your food cost, or if you're selling shoes, the cost of the shoes themselves. So there are some fixed expenses that are going to go hand in hand with your income. Some of them are just going to be there as constant factors. So what the numbers that you control is everything else, and what we call the controllables. But you've got other items that you can control. Your advertising, what you're spending on marketing, what you're spending on different things, even fuel costs. Your electric bills are constant. There's many things that you can look at that you have no control over. But those few items that you can do control over, even labor is a controllable, because you can cut back on your staff, or you can have too much staff on when you don't need it. So those are the things that it's called managing your business.
And there's fixed expenses and there's variable expenses. The fixed are exactly what they say. The fixed, your lease, your loan payment, anything that's about the same amount every month.
The utilities and things of that nature.
Right. But Paul's absolutely on when he says advertising. Some months you're not going to be able to spend $2,000 on advertising. So you got to back off and find more creative ways to get your name out there, like social media, which is generally free.
And, of course, when you do spend those advertising and marketing dollars, you want to spend them smartly. You want to be able to focus on a demographic that is, that you're looking for to come into your place of business, or you want to reach out to them. And a great way to do that is through radio, because you can focus your demographics through radio. And, excuse me. That is a great advantage. That's why you hear so many businesses focus on certain types of radio, like the rock stations. You'll have certain businesses focus there. The talk radio, you'll have certain businesses focus there, because you can zero in on a large segment of the population that you're aiming at.
Right. Hey, Chris, you had your own business, right? You still have it.
Yeah.
How did you do your marketing? How did you do when you got tight in your budget, or when you got tight in your monthly expenses? What did you cut back on? What was the first things you did?
Well, in terms of marketing, most of my work comes from word of mouth.
Perfect. Okay.
When I first started, I had been working in marketing for McDonald's Corporation and was laid off. McDonald's had gone through a sour patch because they basically had saturated the United States with too many McDonald's. In other words, when they would open up a new McDonald's, they could see the sales being affected at the McDonald's that would surround it.
Surrounding area.
Exactly. Right. So then they began to focus on overseas expansion. But I got caught up in the backwash, which was okay. I mean, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting laid off, because at that time, for about 30 years, I was a part-time tax preparer. And at that time, it was around tax season, so I didn't have to feel like I had to rush out and find another job because I was getting my regular customers to prepare their taxes. And so it got about to, April 15th, and I'm starting to think, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? And almost no sooner than I had the thought, and the phone rang. And some folks had heard that I had been laid off, and that they knew that I did taxes, so they were waiting until the tax season was over. And they also had known that I had built decks and fences and done things of that nature. So they called me and asked me if I would come over and build a deck. And I went over and did it. And as I was about to complete the job, I was wondering, what am I going to be doing next week? Lo and behold, the phone would ring. And it was, I don't want to say, it was miraculous, but it was uncanny how for about the first 6 months, just about as I would wrap up a job and begin to think, well, am I really going to keep doing this? Should I begin this as a business, or should I go out and find a job? And the phone would ring. And then it began to ring more often. And the next thing I knew, I was caught up in the building boom. And as the housing boom was going on here in Central Florida, you also had many people who were fixing up houses. So I wasn't a new home construction, but I did get caught up in a lot of the refurbishing and remodeling and things like that. And business was booming. I mean, basically, if you were in that business, you didn't have to market. You didn't have to advertise.
Interesting.
Until, of course, the crash came.
Yes.
And the crash did come. And I'm sad to say that practically every subcontractor that I worked with is either out of business or moved elsewhere.
Yep.
Because the business was the bottom literally fell out. There was nothing there. I sustained myself by replacing toilets and garbage disposals and whatever I could do just to keep the income coming in until the situation improved. And it is not nearly back to what it was, I can tell you that. However, it is improved to the point where I'm back to more substantial jobs.
That highlights one thing, and that is word of mouth. Word of mouth can make you, or it can break you 10 times quicker.
Yep.
If you screw up one thing, that's going to get around faster than any newspaper or anything else.
For a while, I was wondering if I was coming along behind this one guy, because I would get calls, and I'd had this guy here before, and he did this and that, and after a while, I kind of began to thought I could recognize his work. I don't know if there was somebody out there,
Was it shoddy work?
Oh,
so
yeah.
That could have been McNally.
Yeah, you definitely know my construction work.
But I found that your reputation precedes you in business. People will find out about you, and they'll find out if it's good or they'll find out if it's bad. So my philosophy was always give them a fair job at a fair price, and they'll come back. And they did. And they did. So, but nonetheless, had I needed to market, I wouldn't have known what to do, because I knew how to replace a wall, but I couldn't begin to tell you how to market that. That's where I could have really used SCORE.
But Chris, sometimes word of mouth is a form of marketing, and there's ways to promote that word of mouth by putting yard signs out there when you're doing the jobs, and you're creating that buzz in the neighborhood that you're working at. And today,
I can attest to that.
Yeah, a lot of people, builders, painters, plumbers, landscapers, they get a lot of work with that as a marketing. And there is a little cost to it, but it's a low cost.
It's pretty minimal.
Yep.
Yeah. What about those magnetic signs for the side of your truck or van?
Oh, they work great too. And it's mainly because they see you on the job. They see what kind of work you do. And if you do good work, people will notice.
Absolutely.
People know good food, they know good work, they know good quality, and that's what they want. And that's why we try to put out a good quality show for you folks. And we have to go on to a break now. When we come back, we'll continue. We'll wrap up this conversation. And then we have 20 questions. We're going to go through a few of them with you today that I think that will be very beneficial for you folks out there who have been thinking about starting a business and maybe not quite sure if you're ready yet, and for folks who might want to expand.
Hey, anybody who does have a question, make sure you give us a a call.
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, welcome once again to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. And once again, folks, if you would like to send us a question, if you have a topic or subject matter that you'd like us to talk about and discuss on the show, to us at score@nationalec.org. We'd love to hear from you, whatever your comments or questions are, score@nationalec.org. And don't forget, folks, if you would like to go over there and meet Rich or Paul, make an appointment, or just like to go in there and see what they do over there at the Entrepreneurial Center, you can do that. It's in the Fashion Square Mall. It's right between JCPenney's and Sears. And you can just walk in Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or you can give them a call over there and set up an appointment. And that number is 407-420-4844. And if you would like to call and make some comments about the show, they can call that number too, right, Rich?
That's right. And make sure the Entrepreneur Center, as you're coming into, it's painted with grapevines and everything, symbolizing growth. But it's just paint. Don't try to climb them.
I've seen you out there scratching on the wall a time or two.
That's a different story.
All right.
Those grapevines, we made the wine out of it.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, that's what he thought he was doing anyway, barefooted. All right, 407-420-4844 is that number over at the Entrepreneurial Center, 407-420-4844. And if you want to find out more about SCORE, you can do that online at orlando.score.org. And once again, folks, in the prior segment, we were talking about the lack of budgeting being a big hindrance to a lot of businesses. And you can be successful for a while without a budget. When the money's flowing in, as I said, when the housing boom was going on here and the money was flowing in, budgeting kind of wasn't an issue because you always had fresh cash coming in.
Sales solves a lot of problems.
Exactly. But when that tap was cut off, the guys who couldn't budget or had relied too heavily on new home construction only were just caught up in the meat grinder.
That's when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yep. And you asked what I did, I cut back. I mean, literally, if it was not something I had to have for a job, if it was a new tool, maybe, no, I made the old one go a little farther.
Right.
And the things that I did not literally have to go forward, I did without. And that meant personal items as well. And, but that's what it took to get through.
Right. That a lot of really good business owners anticipated a downside and put away money on a monthly basis. They called it retained earnings.
Yep.
And when the hard times did come, they had enough put away to sustain them. And then, because they were being sustained, they could pick up a lot of the business from the contractors and stuff that disappeared.
Yeah. Real quickly now, you guys were talking during one of the breaks there about an experience at SCORE where somebody came in. Was it today?
Yeah, I had somebody that came in today that was looking to open a business, and they had actually found the space that they wanted to go into, and I started asking them some questions about budgeting, and basically they admitted right off the top of their head, well, I've got it all up in my head. And I said, well, you need to take it from your head and put it on paper and do a business plan and budget. They said, well, no, we're going to do it from the seat of our pants because it just all feels good. I mean, some of the pitfalls that we see people fail all the time for not planning, this guy is just planning to fail is where he's headed.
Right.
And he just seemed to have all of the wrong questions, all the wrong answers. And to top it all off, the business that he was going in, he didn't have any experience on going into that business, so he didn't understand the business that he was in, nor did he really have enough money to be able to get it off the ground. Yeah,
unfortunately, enthusiasm is no substitute for experience and knowledge. You can feel as good as you want, but you will still end up dead broke in the end, and you won't be feeling very good then.
No, exactly.
You'll be wondering what happened.
Too much pie in the sky.
Yeah.
And the thing is what you need to do is there's a thought process that goes through. It's the homework that we've talked about in weeks past, that you need to do that and make sure that all your ducks are in a row so that you are successful. And
there is something to taking it out of your brain and putting it on paper or on a computer, because it requires some thought process, and then you begin to see the numbers and you begin to get a better insight as to where things are going. And flying by the seat of your pants is the best way to crash that I know of.
Well, and the reason people don't want to put it on paper is then they're accountable to what they put on there.
Right.
And that's the good thing in business, but a lot of people don't want to not hit what they put on paper. They feel they failed. But if they don't put it on paper and they fail in business, not only do they fail, they're broke.
Yeah. There's an advantage to failure if you look for that failure and look to learn from it. if you look to ignore it, you're only sure to heighten it.
As Thomas Edison once pointed out, and he had a ton of failures, as you know, he said those weren't failures, those were experiments.
Right.
Well, Thomas Edison could afford it. But can you? I mean, do you look at your bank account and tell me you can afford that?
He can afford it because he had guys like Westinghouse or whoever behind him backing him up. Might not have been Westinghouse, but nonetheless.
So I got a question for you guys. How many products actually sell themselves out there?
How many products
Or
sell?
just give me can a product sell itself?
Absolutely not.
I would think not either.
What about the hula hoop?
Well, somebody had to go out there and show people how to do it.
Somebody had to buy the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it took off. Well, what about the pet rock? I mean, what'd you do? Throw it through somebody's window?
There's still marketing behind all of those.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it would seem to be that those are examples of fantastic marketing and advertising schemes.
Right. That was pure luck.
Really?
The other things were pure luck. And now the hula hoop's still around as what?
They came out in the 50s, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's still around today?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what it is?
No.
It's an exercise piece. So
That's what you use.
no, I used it back in the 50s. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now.
But it has had longevity. It kind of went away for a while, but it came back exactly as an exercise tool, whereas before it was a plaything.
It was simply a plaything. Now, at the beginning, we were paying, about 99 cents for one of those things. And now, because it's health-related, you pay about $10 for the same piece of plastic. What a killer.
And then probably another 20 for the video that has the exercises in it.
Yeah, exactly. You get the right model, you get that hula hoop going, you'll sell a lot of those videos.
Buddy. Right?
That's called good marketing.
We're going to sell it for $10, plus if you get the instruction manual, it's another 20.
But to get back to your original question, no matter what you come up with, you've got to go out there and you got to put some foot leather into this. I mean, you got to burn up some time getting out there and telling people about it and showing them what you have, having your elevator speech ready. Whoever you meet, that you say, hey, you know what I just did, or you know what I've got, and so that you're constantly developing a network, if you will. So it seems to me nothing really sells itself.
No, but you've got to sell me on why should I use you? And that's part of your elevator speech.
Right.
The other part
here's how I'm going to fix your pain.
Right.
Yep, the other part is passion. You have to have a passion for what you're selling or what you're doing or your service, because that passion will show through when you're trying to sell it and will help be the convincing factor for the person that needs to buy it.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, because now you're a business broker, Paul. Mm-hmm. You don't buy and sell businesses. You match up buyers with sellers. Is that correct?
Correct. We will have a business that somebody wants to sell, and we have a business MLS system that we utilize, and we'll put that out there and try to find I'll try to find somebody that's looking to buy that type of business, or it might be another business broker that has a buyer that's looking for that, and we'll do a co-broke.
Okay, on the buy side, people who come to buy businesses, are they enthusiastic more simply about the idea of getting into business for themselves or having another different business for themselves, or are they looking for a particular business because they are enthusiastic about that type of business?
I'd like to add to that, too. How many people have you turned away?
For trying to buy a business?
Yeah,
many.
Recommended that they don't.
And we recommend they don't for a lot of reasons. One might be they're looking at the wrong type of business, but sometimes...
Meaning what? They're looking at the wrong
that if they're coming to look at, they want to buy a pack and ship store, but maybe that's not the type of business for them. Maybe they need to be more into a service type business rather than a product business. Or they come looking for a restaurant and they don't have the experience to open a restaurant. So we try to match that up. And in a lot of cases, people don't know what it takes financially. And, sometimes that's the qualifying killer right there, is they don't have the money to do it. It takes money to buy a business. And in a lot of cases, there's not financing out there. On a lot of small businesses, it's seller financing, and they're going to want 50, 75% down payment on it. They might loan a little bit, but there really isn't a lot of financing out there. So a lot of times money gets in their way, and we try to pre-qualify them then to make our time more efficient and to save them all the time of getting excited and doing all the work and then finding out in the end they can't qualify anyways.
So it takes money to make money.
It takes money to make money, and it also takes good credit. because you can have even the money, and I had a situation like this. This was last year, but somebody had the money to buy the business, and they didn't qualify with the landlord for the lease because they had a bankruptcy and they had some history in their credit score.
So they could buy the business, but they couldn't put it anywhere.
But the landlord would not give them a lease.
What is your phone number if somebody wants to contact you, Paul?
If they need to contact me, they can reach me at 407-403-4455. Or my email is paul@abcbrokerage.com.
And that stands for American Business and Commercial Brokerage Incorporated.
That's correct. Our office is in Altamont Springs.
And once again, folks, as we said earlier, we understand that dollars are scarce and tough to come by in practically every business in this day and age. And especially when it comes to advertising and marketing, you want to spend those dollars as smartly as you can. And one of the best ways, smartest ways to spend advertising and marketing dollars is via radio advertising. That's right, folks. It's been around a long time, and that's because it is still effective. If you'd like to explore the world of radio on one of the most powerful AM stations in Central Florida, then call Paul Proley at Salem Communications. You can reach him at 407-618-1769. You can perhaps get together with some other guys or other gals and put together your own show just like this one, or you can advertise. There's a whole lot of options for you on radio today. And believe it or not, folks, radio is still the most sought-after source for people's news and weather and other types of updates. It's a great source for you. Call Paul at 407-618-1769. All right, when we come back, we'll continue the conversation about budgeting, and also we've got a couple other questions we're going to talk about. And once again, please don't go away. You're listening to What's the Score? Okay, welcome back once again to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. And don't forget, folks, if you would like to know more about the organization SCORE, you can go to orlando.score.org or visit them at the Entrepreneurial Center, which is in the Fashion Square Mall between Sears and Penny's. You can call them and make an appointment, or you can just walk in over there at 407-420-4844 is the number. And if you want to have any questions or comments about the show and you'd like to call and talk to someone about it, do it right there at 407-420-4844. And if you have questions for us or suggestions for topics that you would like us to talk about here on What's the Score, then just send them to score@nationalec.org, score@nationalec.org. Rich, you said you had another question for us.
Yes, I do. I have a question for you, too. No, not, I mean you both.
Okay, TWO.
Okay, you're right. Right. What's a good credit score? And what is the minimum credit score that you think that a person could buy a business with?
Well, that has definitely changed with the economy, but a good credit score is in the mid-700s. That's really where you need to be to get somebody's attention as far as a landlord or a bank if you're looking to borrow. As you get to the low 700s, usually with some history where it's been improving, we can usually do something with it, but we got to get creative sometimes there. If you get under 700, then you have to get real creative.
Yeah, the days of just going down and signing your name and they've given you a bunch of money or a mortgage or something are long over and long gone. Now, you said SCORE, obviously SCORE can't help people raise their credit, but do you have seminars or is there something that you can?
Well, SCORE can.
Oh, they can?
Sure.
How?
I teach seminars on how to improve your credit. Actually, I do them in the prisons as a part of our outreach program, but to teach these guys getting out how to fix your credit once you get out. And how do you keep it fixed?
So if somebody just getting out of prison can fix his credit or her credit, then obviously someone who's not gone through that experience can surely do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know, I get lots and lots of clients coming through that have about a 630, a 640 credit. And for those people, you know, that are having trouble, there's only a few agencies out there that will work with them on funding a business. And one is HBIF, Hispanic Business Initiative Fund. Another one is BBIF, Black Business Initiative Fund. And those are private agencies, and they do private funding for troubled credit people.
So once again, someone with a bad credit can go to SCORE and get help in terms of turning that credit around. And once again, you're going to advise them what to do, that they'll have to take the charge of their affairs, but you'll help them out.
Generally, we give them about 10 steps, and they have to take the initiative to follow through with those 10 steps. Like number one is get your free credit report. Find out what's good on there. Find out what's bad on there. And then go fix it. Call the agency, your agency that you owe money to. The telephone number is right there. All you got to do is call them. And many, many times, the actual number of the amount you owe or something is incorrect. And it's just been on there because they forgot to take it off. So it impacted your credit. So some of those things are so easy to do, and it could raise up your credit in a period of 3 months.
Wow. And see, I didn't know that this was available from SCORE. So you've just educated me. And folks, if there's something out there that we haven't talked about and you're wondering, does SCORE do this or that, give them a call over there. And once again, alert us. We'd love to know, to address it on the show here and talk about it. Paul, you mentioned that sometimes people will have enough cash to buy the business, but that because they have a bad credit rating, that can affect them as well. Does that also hold true for some people who are already in business?
Well, it will if they get into a situation where they need to borrow to grow their business. Then it will certainly have an effect. You've got two types of credit going on there. You've got the business credit, and then you've got your personal credit. But in today's world, and especially since the economy went down here in the last few years, then what's happened is most of the time they're looking at both your business credit plus your personal credit because they're making everybody sign personally on it, backing up just to get that double coverage. So it definitely does affect people in business, but not as much because, again, you've got some history, unless the history of the business is not good.
Yeah,
right. I think I talked to a bunch of bankers about that exact thing. And I think what their rule of thumb is they will take your personal credit for the business credit. They don't even care about the business credit because they know you're the money behind it. And they will do that, making you responsible for the business credit for 5 to 10 years, depending on how quickly you grow.
Right. And they want as many people to sign on it personally as they can, and it gives them a little bit better feel good.
Right. Sure. They're looking for, once again, the freewheeling days of easy money are over. So
that's for sure.
They're looking to cover all their bases.
There's plenty of money out there for lending if you've got things to borrow against and you've got good credit.
Right.
But collateral. You do need those two things.
Yeah. And by the way, SCORE doesn't have a desk drawer full of money. So when you come in, if you need money for a loan or a grant or something like that, we can't help you. You've got to go to agencies that provide that type of service, not SCORE.
Can you help someone if let's say they have a business and they want to expand and they have an idea on what they should do to expand, but it's going to cost some capital they don't have. And so they come to you and say, hey, look, I want to do this because I think it'll make my business boom, but I need to borrow some money. You first look at sort of what they're trying to borrow the money for?
Absolutely. That is the first criteria. You need to write a business plan and show us what you're going to do with the money. Then we can make recommendations to which financial institutions they will have the best luck at.
Do you sometimes, and I guess I'll focus this question to you, Paul, do you ever have an instance where a business grows and becomes too big for itself, where its overhead becomes unmanageable? Well,
a lot of times they'll grow so fast that it will eat up all of their extra capital because growth is expensive, especially if you're in a business that you're warehousing products. You know, if you're selling business to business, we'll say on a wholesale basis, so you're selling product. You're not getting paid for that product for 30 days.
Right. You
had to bring in extra product to sell. And maybe you're on 14 days, you have to pay for the product. So you have to finance that growth. So, I remember years ago in the food distribution business, a banker told me it costs you $2 for every dollar of growth. And you've got to plan that in on your business plan. And it'll work out in the end with your cash flow, but there is an expense in the beginning. So that's where the business plan really brings everything to light on exactly where you're going to be, because people think, well, if I grow, I'll have extra money. But that's not always the case. There's a cost to that growth.
Yeah, budgeting is more important than ever in a situation like that, because you're right. You're dealing with, time lapses.
Exactly.
And your cash flow can really get constrained and restricted in a situation like that.
And we've had people come in a SCORE and saying, well, my business is up 20%, but I don't have any cash here. and that's the situation they've been caught up in. They don't realize why.
They need to really get control of their receivables. Our company had 15 days or less receivables, which meant that our client had to pay us within 15 days to 30 days. That's a well-run business, by the way. But some businesses have a 6-month, especially in the construction. They won't collect for 6 months. So that's your money sitting out there for 6 months.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't come in 6 months.
It doesn't come.
I know, I don't know, this is anecdotal, but evidently some subcontractors out at the new Nemours hospital, not Nemours, I mean the VA hospital.
VA, yeah.
Yeah, we're not getting paid. And because they had not budgeted for 6, 8, 9 months of not getting paid, they went out of business.
Don't blame that on Congress.
Yeah. So, but for sure, folks, you whether you're running a business or just starting a business, budgeting is a key. Because it really begins to codify your idea into something that it is workable or it is not.
You can get budget templates on score.org.
I did not know that.
Yes. Now you know.
All right. So, and can you get other documents and paperwork?
Absolutely. There's a ton of them out there. So you can get budgeting. You can get a template that describes your startup costs. So all you have to do is fill it in. And you can get a P&L that you just, again, fill it in online. And then you print it out, and it's yours, or save it to your flash drive, whatever.
Rich, what's a P&L? Some people may not know what a P&L is.
That's right. It's actually a profit and loss.
A profit and loss statement.
Right. And in Paul's case, it's a loss. It's just an L.
That's just my friends.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, gentlemen, thanks once again for some great insights into businesses and business sense, if you will, and what SCORE does. And once again, remember, folks, we'd love to have your questions or topic subjects, suggestions for the SCORE. This show, just go to score@nationalec.org. That's score@nationalec.org. You can go to the Entrepreneurial Center into Fashion Square. Give them a call there if you want to make an appointment. The number there is 407-420-4844. They'll also take your questions or suggestions. And if you want to find out more about SCORE, go to orlando.score.org. Or to get those documents, just go to score.org.
Right.
And we'll be back next week. Paul and I will be here, and we'll have a great show lined up for you then. In the meantime, once again, what was the event coming up there, Paul?
We've got on September 6th, which is a Saturday in the morning from 9:30 to 12:30, and September 9th, which is a Tuesday evening from 6 to 9, a seminar titled You, Your Business Idea, and How SCORE Can Help. And what that is going to be, it's an overview on you setting up your new business and where SCORE comes into play to help you with that process.
Okay, and remember, folks, that is free, and it's available to you, so take advantage of it, please. And don't forget, radio is still one of the most effective ways available to build name recognition via advertising and prestige via your very own radio show, just like this one here. And if Rich can do it, you can do it. Right, Rich?
There you go. I'd like to know what an idea is.
All right, well, you'll have to listen in next week. If you'd like to explore more about the world of radio, call Paul Proley at Salem Communications, 407-618-1769. That's Paul Proley at Salem Communications, 407-618-1769. And we'll see you next week for more of What's the Score?